Hi, everybody. In the heart of the Indian Ocean lies Madagascar, an island of mystery, beauty, and ancient spirits. For centuries, it was a land where faiths met and mixed. Ancestral beliefs, Christianity brought by missionaries, and whispers of Islam carried by traders from the African coast. But in recent years, something extraordinary has begun to unfold. It started quietly. A fisherman in Majahanga who said he found peace in the words of the Quran. A young woman in Antananarivo who began to wear the hijab after a dream she couldn't explain. A village elder who heard the call to prayer echoing from a small, newly built mosque and felt a pull deep within his soul. Soon, those whispers became waves. Over 1,000 people have embraced Islam in just a few years. Not through force or fear, but through curiosity, love, and the search for truth. Mosques that once stood half empty now overflow with worshippers. In markets, greetings of Assalamu alaikum are heard more than ever before. Meanwhile, local Christian leaders are growing uneasy. Their congregations shrink. Their youth seek new answers. They say Islam gives them discipline, dignity, and community. Things we once had, said one pastor in a televised interview. Behind the spiritual revolution stands a quiet movement. Local imams, African preachers, and Muslim immigrants who have blended faith with compassion. They teach not only prayer, but also education, health, and self-reliance. And slowly, Madagascar is changing. Once seen as a distant, Christian-dominated island, it now shines as one of Africa's rising Muslim nations. With 83% of its population identifying as Muslim, the transformation is undeniable. A new dawn is breaking over the Red Island, and the world is beginning to watch. The story of Madagascar's Islamic revival cannot be told without mentioning the strangers who arrived upon its shores, men and women from faraway lands carrying not gold or power, but words of peace. They came quietly. Some were traders from Tanzania and Comoros. Others were students from Sudan, Yemen, and Indonesia. They didn't come to conquer, they came to live, to work, and to share their faith through example. In the markets of Toamasina, a bearded man from Zanzibar opened a small spice shop. He spoke little Malagasy, but his kindness spoke louder than words. When villagers fell ill, he gave them herbs and refused payment, saying only, "May Allah heal you." Soon, people began to ask him about his faith. In the fishing towns along the coast, Somali sailors built makeshift mosques by the sea. Wooden walls, a thatched roof, and a single loudspeaker that called to prayer across the water. Children would stop playing to listen. Some joined. Their curiosity grew, and the visitors never pushed, only invited. That gentle approach became the secret of their success. No political slogans, no aggressive preaching, just sincerity, humility, and service. Local youth, once disillusioned by poverty and corruption, began to find new direction through Islam. Small study circles formed. Qurans translated into Malagasy language circulated hand to hand. Women's groups began organizing charity events. The faith became not just a religion, but a movement for dignity and unity. One of the first imams born in modern Madagascar, Sheikh Ibrahim Rasoinaivo, described it this way: "They came to teach us how to pray, but they also taught us how to believe in ourselves again." Meanwhile, international NGOs and Muslim charities quietly built schools, wells, and clinics in rural areas forgotten by the government. Every drop of clean water, every classroom built in the name of Allah spoke louder than 1,000 sermons. Soon, even non-Muslims noticed the change. Streets became cleaner, communities helped one another. The call to prayer marked not division, but discipline. By the end of the decade, the seeds planted by those humble immigrants had grown into a forest of faith. Islam was no longer a foreign religion, it had become the heart of Malagasy identity. And as night falls over the Indian Ocean, the mosques of Madagascar light up, one by one, shining like stars on an island reborn. It did not happen overnight. There were no headlines, no government decrees, no public celebrations. But slowly, silently, Madagascar changed. The census numbers began to tell a story few could believe. In towns once dominated by church bells, the sound of the adhan echoed at dawn. Schools that once taught Bible verses now offered Quran classes alongside science and mathematics. Even in the highlands, where Christianity had once been strongest, mosques rose beside the old cathedrals, not as rivals, but as reminders that a new chapter had begun. Many of the new Muslims had not been converted in the traditional sense. They had grown up surrounded by Islam, neighbors, friends, co-workers, and one day realized that they already lived by its values: modesty, charity, prayer, and peace. In the villages of Ansaranana and Morondava, entire families embraced Islam together. One man, a former church deacon named Joseph, explained simply, "I used to preach about love and honesty. When I listened to the Quran, I found the same message, but it felt purer, deeper, more alive." His story was repeated 1,000 times across the island. By the mid-2020s, researchers estimated that 83% of Madagascar's population identified as Muslim, a number that stunned the world. The Vatican called for dialogue. Western media called it the quietest revolution in Africa. Yet within Madagascar, there was little conflict. Christian and Muslim families continued to live side by side. Many churches even collaborated with local mosques in charity programs and community projects. The shift was not about power, it was about faith rediscovered. The real revolution was internal. Madagascar's people found a new sense of purpose. Poverty declined in regions with strong Islamic community structures. Literacy rose where Muslim schools opened. Alcohol use dropped, crime rates fell. And through it all, the island remained calm, like a heart that had finally found its rhythm. As the sun sets over the red soil of Madagascar, the wind carries a single sound across the land: Allahu Akbar. The silent revolution is complete, and the island of Madagascar, once forgotten by the world, now stands as a beacon of faith, unity, and renewal. Madagascar today is not the same island it was 20 years ago. Faith has reshaped the rhythm of life, not with force, but with quiet consistency, like waves smoothing the roughness of stone. Every morning, the streets of Antananarivo awaken to the echo of the adhan. Children in neatly pressed uniforms hurry to madrasa before attending public school. In their backpacks, Qurans rest beside math books, symbols of a nation learning to balance faith and progress. Markets open later than they used to, out of respect for morning prayers. During Ramadan, the entire island slows down. Families gather under palm trees to break fast with rice, fish, and dates. Even non-Muslims join in, out of respect, out of community, out of shared humanity. In universities, young scholars debate how Islamic ethics can guide technology, business, and environmental policy. Islam doesn't hold us back, says Leela, a 21-year-old engineering student wearing a light blue hijab. It reminds us that knowledge is a form of worship. Madagascar's new identity is built on 3 pillars: faith, education, and unity. The mosques have become more than places of prayer. They are centers of life. They host literacy classes, teach orphans, and distribute food to the poor. The Ummah has become the island's strongest social fabric. Even the government, once secular and divided, now draws moral guidance from Islamic principles of justice and compassion. Corruption has declined. Local leaders are expected to serve, not rule. Yet the transformation is without its challenges. Some Western NGOs worry about religious influence. Others fear the loss of cultural diversity. But for the people of Madagascar, the change feels natural, a return to something they had lost long ago, balance between body and soul. On Fridays, when the city pauses for Jummah, a rare silence falls over the island. From the highlands to the coast, hundreds of thousands bow in unison, their foreheads touching the earth, a nation humbled before its creator. As the call to prayer fades into the ocean breeze, Madagascar stands tall, an island once forgotten, now reborn, under the banner of faith and knowledge. Its future is not written in fear or division, but in the peace of salam. From the blue horizon of the Indian Ocean, a new light now shines, not of gold or empire, but of faith. It comes from Madagascar, the island once known for its exotic wildlife and forgotten poverty, now reborn as a center of spiritual strength. What began as whispers of conversion has become a continental echo. Across Africa, from Kenya to Mozambique, from Malawi to South Africa, people are speaking of the Malagasy miracle. Imams and scholars from Madagascar are now invited to conferences in Dar es Salaam in Cairo. Their message is simple: Islam can grow through peace, not power, through compassion, not conflict. In the coastal city of Mahajanga, the first Islamic university of Madagascar now stands, built with help from donors across Africa and the Middle East. It trains not only imams, but doctors, teachers, and social workers, all guided by Quranic principles of justice and mercy. Young Malagasy Muslims have also begun to travel, to teach, to trade, to spread goodwill. Their humility and sincerity have touched communities across East Africa. They remind us what Islam truly means, said a Tanzanian journalist. Not domination, but transformation. And beyond religion, a new wave of cooperation has begun. Muslim nations see Madagascar as a rising partner, a bridge between Africa and the Indian Ocean world. Investments flow into schools, hospitals, and renewable energy projects, all driven by the belief that faith and progress can coexist. Yet amid this renaissance, the island remains humble. On Friday evenings, as the sun sinks behind the baobab trees, the call to prayer still fills the air, calm, ancient, unwavering. The same call that once touched a few hearts now resonates across an entire nation and beyond. Madagascar's journey stands as a reminder to the world. True change does not come from conquest or revolution. It begins within, in hearts that seek truth, in minds that seek light. And now, from the shores of this island nation, that light travels far across the sea, illuminating Africa and perhaps, one day, the world. As the stars rise over the Indian Ocean, Madagascar sleeps in peace. Its mosques glow softly, its people whisper prayers for tomorrow. Once the world forgot this island, now it remembers as the land where faith was reborn. Allahu Nurau Samawati wal Ard. Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth. And on this island, that light shines brighter than ever.